So hey Nime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Justice League. So let's start the series. When she turned her weak head toward the sobbing blonde, the sixth headmaster and a few of her favorite people were doing exactly what she needed them to do, which was to keep Naruto from stopping her. She recalled the moment she had told them about her plan. Pink Ninja, screamed a very angry blonde, who yanked against his restraints. The other heads were seated around a table, with Shizune and Pink Ninja to her side, and the sixth headmaster standing behind her. The fifth headmaster yelled, "Damn it. Nothing we do gets to him." Mizu had retorted to fifth headmaster, "Everything we throw at the bastard goes straight through him." The Sandman replied, "But that also leaves him full of himself. If we could figure out a way to actually hurt him, we could possibly catch him off guard." The Pink Ninja moaned and walked up to the table. Ever since Niji's death, this had been on her mind. "I may have a solution." Everyone gave her a somber expression. Pink Ninja pushed forward as the Sand Guy asked, "What do you have?" Bosichuha is somehow dispersing his cells in a way so that all of our physical attacks go straight through him. I theorized that if I could get close to him, I could possibly pull his cells together, Pink Ninja said. "Would it really be possible?" Suchi had exclaimed with enthusiasm. When they attempted to place the clone back on the table, Pink Ninja recalled the explosion that had occurred. If his technique is anything like the clones we have been fighting for so long, then yes, I tested a few of the bodies. One of them happened to not be all dead and tried to flee. I was able to stop it because my hands were already in the body. I felt the way the cells melted and tried to mold with the table, she said. "That means you will have to be close enough to touch this madman. I can't allow you to do it," the fifth headmaster remarked as the other heads were debating their options. Pink Ninja stepped back and shook her head, but the sixth headmaster grabbed her arm. He snarled, "It is suicide," and Pink Ninja grinned as she left the room and bravely into her brief future. "I know, I will do anything to stop the deaths of more of my family and beloved friends. You can't let Naruto know, and you can't get in my way. The effects of this are slightly explosive," she said. Blood trickling down the side of her mouth as she struggled to stay conscious, she grinned and turned her head back to her adversary. "This is where it ends, Gosichuha," she muttered feebly. At the moment, she was holding the Shadow Man in place by his organs, and had enveloped her hands in green healing energy. This allowed her to adhere to his cells. She could already feel the catastrophic ramifications starting to unfold. Naturally, Gosichuha answered by placing his hands in Pink Ninja's abdomen, as soon as he was in her grasp. "You stupid kid, you won't be able to do anything before I kill you," snarled Gosichuha as Pink Ninja coughed out further blood. Naruto yelled, "Pink Ninja." Once more. Gosichuha hissed as his Sharingan spun rapidly as he gaped at her and sensed a change in his body. Pink Ninja grinned once again and said, "It doesn't matter anyway. I have already started the explosive agent in your cells. You can't stop it." Gosichuha must have felt the shift as well, since he tore one of his hands off of her stomach and touched her forehead when Pink Ninja sensed the cells in her body getting closer to the point of explosion. "You may kill this body, but I will live on in you. I will make your beloved people feel betrayal through your hands." He chuckled. "This explosion will kill the both of us, you crazy old man," Pink Ninja said, coughing up more blood. Pink Ninja found herself drawn in by the man's wavy facial characteristics. "Okay, I'll have to settle for making you go crazy instead," he said with a smile. Pink Ninja heard Gosichuha laughing and exclaiming, "Go mad you stupid brat," as it reverberated off the walls of her skull just before everything went dark. As lights flickered in her eyes and colors danced across her vision, she was able to make out patterns and shapes. Someone shouted, "Where the hell did she come from?" As he lifted her off the ground, the man exclaimed, "I have no clue. Go get the captain, this is just too much, first a crazy green man, and now a bleeding girl that pops out of nowhere." Pink Ninja felt the blood seeping from her tummy as she attempted to speak. A female voice, "We have to stop this bleeding," while applying pressure to Pink Ninja's stomach. Once more, the Pink Ninja tried to focus, but she could see the woman working on her stomach. She heard laughter echoing in her mind again before a burning began in her eye. Pink Ninja felt core energy form itself, as the burning grew more intense before she started to scream. Pink Ninja knew this woman wasn't Fifth's headmaster, but for some reason, she was the only one she could see. "Hold her down, this thrashing isn't helping me," cried the woman. The core energy abruptly erupted from the woman's eye, and took the form of black flames, as they possessed the woman who appeared to be the fifth headmaster. Flames encircled her body, tearing and eating at her fiercely. As she witnessed others attempt to save her but fail, Pink Ninja sobbed as the woman was reduced to a heap of ash. "You killed your master," a voice that Pink Ninja had heard before said in her mind. The Pink Ninja yelled, "Fifth headmaster Shishu," and reached for the ash heap. She watched in terror as a blond man shoved her into the bed again, and Naruto's picture flashed across his face. Her eye experienced another burst of core energy. Naruto grinned at her as he was consumed by black flames. Pink Ninja heard Gosichuha say, "And now you have killed the sweet boy that would have done anything for you, you are a monster," in her head. The environment grew darker, and her neck hurt, yet her mind was clear. Despite her unable to move or speak, the memories and the awful laughter of the insane man Pink Ninja had attempted to kill lingered. As she watched Naruto and 5th Headmaster burn to ash heaps one after the other, Pink Ninja exclaimed, "Kaya." Once more. He grinned to himself as Pink Ninja's subconscious tried once more to force him out of her thoughts. "Help me please." Pink Ninja cried in her mind as Ghost Uchiha laughed even more. Since she was the reason all of his plans failed, she was required to pay. Feeling the tremors of lunacy in the back of her head, Pink Ninja sobbed to herself. She would lose her mind if Ghost Uchiha got what he desired. The fresh voice whispered, "I can help you," and Ghost Uchiha's rage grew as it further pierced her consciousness. The solid voice, which sounded old and knowledgeable, answered, "You need to heal, I will take care of this intruder of your mind." "Who are you?" Pink Ninja asked as a wave of serenity passed over her. She could feel herself falling into much-needed sleep as the recording of the fatalities ceased. The voice said, "A friend, you may call me John Johns," as Pink Ninja fell asleep. Although Pink Ninja was aware that she was being held captive in some kind of tank, she never gave it much consideration. She had been in and out of awareness more times than she could remember, and each time Ghost Uchiha had woken her, John had let her go back to sleep. She was awake when she heard the sounds of fighting at one of those periods. Bam. 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 John's words, "Pink Ninja, they are here," roused her more than she had been awake since arriving. The optimism in his speech gave her hope. Crash. The Pink Ninja groaned as a voice called from a door at the end of the room. "Hold it, Superman, destroying government property isn't really your style, what's going on?" The water surrounding her made everything hazy and confusing. When a man entered, the door flew off its hinges, and Pink Ninja would have burst out laughing at his outfit if she had had the strength. The man in blue, dressed in a crimson cloak and a blue jumpsuit, waved across the room. She laughed at the large S on his chest, but the action made her stomach ache. Pink Ninja heard him say, "See for yourself, over the surrounding sea." When Pink Ninja saw a bad emblem on this man's breast, she was about to burst out laughing again, but she held back. Another man entered and hesitated. It wasn't as vibrant as the absurd costume he was wearing. The black and gray made the clothes more subtle. She turned to see what the man in black was looking at to her left. Pink Ninja was shocked to learn that John was a green alien, but she had witnessed many strange things. Kisum, the blue shark creature from the Akatsuki, came toward her. He was in metal chains that prevented him from moving his head. Mankind's only hope, the man in blue muttered to John before moving forward and pulling a few levers in front of John. The man in black said warily, "What is it?" The metal bindings broke loose, releasing John like a rag doll. The guy in blue replied, "He has been trying to reach out to me telepathically, but the stasis field interfered. When his message finally broke through, I came here to rescue him." John slowly stood up after the man in blue supported him before he fell to the ground, and then straightened himself. "What is he doing here?" John asked, glancing up at the black-clad man before turning to Pink Ninja. His words, "Help her first and I will explain," stuck in everyone's minds. As the boys stared at Pink Ninja in awe of the green figure in front of them, they paid little attention to her. They paused for a second. Before the man in black could ask, the man in blue asked, "Who is she?" The man in blue nodded and approached the front of Pink Ninja's tank, saying, "A friend, she was brought in the same day I was," as John had put it. He introduced himself nicely and said, "My name is Superman. Let's get you out of there." Superman smiled and pressed a button on the tank's base, causing the water to start to drain. Pink Ninja, who hadn't been this awake in a long time, nodded feebly. Pink Ninja put her feet on the bottom of the tank and her hands on the edges to keep her balance. When the water could no longer sustain her, she fell to her knees, gazed at her body, and nearly burst into tears because it was essentially just skin and bone. She removed the oxygen mask and sat at the bottom of the tank as the last of the water drained and the front glass opened like a door. The voice muttered, "Freedom," and Pink Ninja's eyes started to fill with the core energy once more. The core energy started to burn in her eye, and she glanced down in panic, shouting, "What's wrong?" Superman yelled anxiously as he turned to face John, who had gone up to Pink Ninja and crouched by her. John asked courteously, "Pink Ninja, he is weak and old, I am not impaired any longer, shall we seal him away?" Pink Ninja nodded. She closed her eyes, felt John enter her thoughts, and followed him into the darkness until she eventually saw a figure. As John moved forward, Ghost Uchiha scooted back, attempting to keep a safe distance. "I am Ghost Uchiha, and I will not let some green freak be the end. You can't stop me." Ghost Uchiha sobbed. Pink Ninja opened her eyes, rested against John's chest, and sighed. She grinned as she gazed up into his face. "Your presence in this mind is not welcome, be gone," John muttered as his eye glowed. Ghost Uchiha screamed as his appearance vanished. "Thank you." He turned and gave Superman a nod. "She has been in that tank for 2 years, and there will be no way she can walk on her own for a while," he stated. John nodded when the Pink Ninja inquired, 2 years. Superman approached them, following their example, and stopped to examine her. The Pink Ninja groaned as he peered down and saw that she was clearly only dressed in shorts and breast binds. Superman considered this for a moment, then took off his cape. Superman paused after glancing at her. He whispered, "Here," and lifted her up in a bridal fashion, placing it over her shoulders. For a while, Pink Ninja sat, concentrating her meager core energy on herself. "You have very interesting eyes. One is green, and the other is red with black symbols," Superman said. Her right eye had a remarkable amount of core energy flowing through it, and her abdomen had mended wonderfully but still uncomfortable from lack of use. "There she's out, now explain," said the man dressed in black. "The invasion. I came here to warn you but was captured and imprisoned here." Pink Ninja appeared outside the fort shortly after they had restrained me. "I was surprised she was still alive with that kind of wound," said John. "Big surprise," complained the man in black. "I feel like you don't trust me." "Maybe this will help," John said, his expression shifting. The Pink Ninja nearly burst out laughing as his face grew more human, and he put on a cape and an absurd costume. He turned to face the man in black and grinned slightly at her happiness. "I am John Johns," he said. The black-clad man glanced at his hand but did not take it. Pink Ninja could see everything so well out of one eye and not the other, but she did her best not to feel sick from the movement. Superman sighed and added, "Don't take it personally, John. He doesn't trust anyone." She quickly closed it, sighing with relief, and understood why the sixth headmaster typically had the one covered. She said to Superman, "I am Pink Ninja Haruno," as she slipped in and out of consciousness. Superman remarked, "Nice to meet you, I just wish it was on better terms." Superman remarked, "Nice to meet you, I just wish it was on better terms." Pink Ninja was awakened by the familiar feeling of falling just in time to feel the full shock of the earth when she struck it. She rolled around a little before her instincts took over, and a small core energy store showed itself. Then she stopped and looked around in confusion. Someone shouted, "Pink Ninja, get down." But she was already facing one of the jelly people. "You look just like Setsu. Let's see if you explode like him," explained Pink Ninja as she rushed forward and thrust her fists into the monster's abdomen. Despite the creature's screams, Pink Ninja felt the cells shifting and grinned to herself. She tore her hands from her belly, and barrel rolled as more jelly-looking beings began to swarm around the one. Lifting her off the ground, Superman exclaimed, "What the hell are you doing?" and flew in the direction of the man in black's jet. "Playing with fire," she shouted, shielding her face. Superman turned back in disbelief as the lone jelly person screamed and abruptly changed into a ball of flames. "What did you do to it?" Pink Ninja waved to John as they flew alongside the man in black's aircraft. "Their cellular makeup is unstable, add a small amount of core energy, and you have yourself a bomb," she chuckled. For telepathy, he inquired, "Are you alright?" Pink Ninja saw something on the mountain's edge and nodded. She said, "We're done, Superman," as a group of strange-looking aircraft swooped in their direction. The Pink Ninja said, "Get me on the plane. I can handle it from there." "What can you do from?" "Just do it," she yelled, frowning at him and gesturing toward the aircraft. With a shake of his head, he placed her on the jet's tail, where Pink Ninja could quickly attach her feet and tell Superman to leave. When he released her, she remained perfectly upright. The Pink Ninja said, "I've got this." Superman nodded and headed toward the nearest craft. "Pink Ninja, what are you doing?" John said tensely. The Pink Ninja grinned and turned to the approaching spacecraft, saying, "Returning a favor." Instead, she raised her fingers to her lips while her hands swam in a frenzy of hand gestures. She yelled, "Kaiten, Dakaku no Jutsu," and hurled enormous balls of fire at the approaching ship. As others pursued them, she gasped and fell to her knees, and the jet erupted into flying maneuvers as Pink Ninja struggled for her life. A red bullet passed over her face and severed one of the plane's wings. John exclaimed, "Hold on, Pink Ninja," as they struck the ground. They were suddenly stopped by a green shining light, and Pink Ninja gazed up in wonder at where it came from. A glowing green figure was holding the plane aloft with a green beam of light on a ledge off the mountainside. The winged woman struck their savior as it rounded the bend of the mountain, with what appeared to be a mace wrapped with rate and jutsu, and the spacecraft burst as it smashed the side of the cliff. As he came out beside her, John asked, "Are you alright?" Pink Ninja gazed at him as he met Superman, the winged woman, and the green glowing man who put down the plane. "Fine, only exhausted. I've used more core energy than I should have," she said him. He nodded and went out to join the others. "Nice shooting," Pink Ninja said, turning to see the man in the black suit extending his hand from his jet to shake hers. Instead of landing on her feet as she had planned, Pink Ninja nearly fell to her knees as she slid off the plane after taking his hand. "I would say it was nothing, but I use a bit of energy doing that, and I was running low to begin with," she said. The man in black smiled as he hoisted her up and grabbed her, asking, "Only a bit of energy?" She whispered, "Thanks, Pink Ninja Haruno," and extended her hand. "Batman," he said, nodding, but he refused to take the hand. Just as the alien vessel arrived where they were standing, Batman was pulled into a barrel roll by Pink Ninja, and they were returned to the battle by an explosion above their heads. Pink Ninja lay there for a while to get her breath as Batman untangled himself from her. "Thanks, I suppose," he muttered, getting to his feet and assisting her in standing. Pink Ninja looked up at a cry of pain as a craft circled around, poised to attack, and the winged woman tumbled into a rock ledge. On the ledge before the winged woman, a woman wearing what appeared to be a swimsuit, landed and started to divert fire away from them, directing it directly into the attack ship. Pink Ninja remarked, "You have a lot of friends showing up," as Batman hoisted her into his aircraft. Batman was attempting to say, "They aren't my," when a bright crimson suit with a damaged wing suddenly materialized. Pink Ninja shook her head as the other passengers touched down beside the aircraft. "Hey Bats, I think you dropped this," he said. The woman in the swimsuit caught the attention of the bright red idiot, as Pink Ninja mentally dubbed him. After giving Batman the wing piece, he approached her and exclaimed, "Whoa, where have you been all my life?" "Demisir?" she asked innocently. She winced, forgetting about her stomach, but Pink Ninja laughed at her gullibility. Following the adrenaline boost, she began to feel more. The woman with the wings said, "The home of the Amazons, but I always thought it was a legend. I assure you it is as real as the ground on which we stand. I am Diana, Princess of the Amazons," she said. "Oh boy," groaned Pink Ninja. With a stupid smile, the Red Fool said, "Pinch me, I must be dreaming," and Superman gave him an elbow. The Pink Ninja watched and grinned as John approached. "Demisir is protected by the gods, but I could not stand by while the rest of the world was in danger." With a nod, Superman said, "It was fortunate that you arrived when you did." After landing, John exclaimed, "No, not luck, I telepathically summoned them," and approached Pink Ninja. The Pink Ninja shook her head, cautiously exited the plane, and sat on the edge, not quite ready to stand, when the red idiot said, "Look, I am usually quick on the uptake, but could someone please tell me what's going on?" The Pink Ninja replied, "Just a bit of destruction there, Turbo," while the others gaped in disbelief. The man with the green light said, "Now who is she?" Pink Ninja Haruno, John an Anime soldier from Konoha and head field medic for the Great Anime Soldier Army, replied the Pink Ninja. John laughed a little as she slipped over the edge of the aircraft, landed on her feet, and bowed to greet him. She straightened up and opened both eyes. The idiot said, "Holy crap, that is one creepy eye," and rushed to her side for a closer look. The enraged Pink Ninja said, "Thanks, and you are?" "Call me Flash," he added with a smile, then disappeared and reappeared across from her. Pink Ninja let out a sigh and turned to face the others. The winged woman whispered, "Hulk girl," and nodded. Pink Ninja yelled as her eye exploded with core energy, ejecting itself and engulfing the approaching vessel in black flames. Green Lantern, the glowing green figure moaned. Pink Ninja nodded at the two, looking past them. Blood gushed from Pink Ninja's eye, causing her to fall to her knees. John and the rest of the group ducked into defensive stances. "I thought we sealed him, John," the Pink Ninja sputtered away. "It might be an ability you have gained from the amount of time he was trapped in your mind. You have the Sharingan now, perhaps the jutsus go with it," John replied as he hoisted her up. After swing, the Pink Ninja gave a small smile. She grinned when John grabbed her and her legs gave way. "It was nice to meet you, but that seemed to be the last of my core energy," she said. He shook his head and raised her off the ground. "Sorry for the trouble," Pink Ninja said, and John imagined this. Since she had the endurance to stand yet still needed them to speak freely, passing out was her only option. Knowing exactly what she was doing, John moaned but went on. Flash cried out with frustration, "What the hell is going on?" Superman remarked suddenly, "We found her in the same place as John, and we know as much about her as you do." Green Lantern's voice was tense as he asked, "Well, what is she?" "She is like me, not from Earth," John said softly. He went on, "Well, not from this Earth anyway," and they all turned to him for approval. "She appeared in this dimension shortly after my arrival. These things feed on psychic energy, and she has the most I have seen since the people of my world. She appeared here with a hole in her abdomen. When she came to, her body defends itself. That black flame was its defense. They placed her into a medical coma, so she didn't cause any more issues. It was in the 2 years trapped in that room that I got to know her. She would dream of her home, and the people she loved. I saw everything. Good and bad, she is a young woman who has seen and felt much heartache and lost, and as have I," John said when he brought Pink Ninja back to cockpit. That man said wearily, "She isn't from this dimension. She comes from a place called Konoha. It is a village in the country of fire. She was fighting a war that would define her world. It brought all 5 of their countries together against one common enemy. She went to the front lines with the possibility that would most likely kill her, but end the war. The man she went against was an ancient parasite. It had been jumping and poisoning minds for centuries. She was able to kill the host body, but the parasite jumped into her mind and left her dimension to save itself." John shared what he learned from her recollections. Superman asked with some surprise, "She sacrificed her life for the good of her people?" John nodded and went on. "These invaders we're fighting also attack Mars. They took everything from me just like that parasite took everything from her. Mars was in a golden age of peace and prosperity. When these parasites attacked us, we were peaceful people, but it didn't take long for us to learn the ways of war. Like I said, they feed on psychic energies. They use us as their own personal food source. They even took our shape-shifting abilities. We set up one finally attack. The group of survivors fought their way into the main factory. We set up a nerve gas that paralyzed them in their hole. Sadly, the cost was great. I was the only survivor, so I sealed them away and watched over them so they could never destroy another world. I was in a hibernation cycle when your astronauts opened the door and set them free. I came here to warn you, but was captured and met her. Their next objective, sleeping doctor. Flash questioned, "Can't you make more of that nerve stuff?" John shook his head and said, "I brought a sample, but it was destroyed. It was made from a rare Martian plant." With a boom of thunder and lightning, the group turned to face the next city, which was just beyond the valley. Rumbling, "It has begun," John said. Diana questioned tensely, "What has?" "These invaders are nocturnal. The sun hurts them, so they are conditioning the planet to suit their needs. We have to destroy the factories," John said. Lantern remarked, "They have factories all over the world. We will have to do this in teams," and Flash quickly positioned the Pink Ninja at the side of the aircraft. "What are we doing with Miss Creepy Eye over here?" Pink Ninja whispered, "I can hear you," and the Flash almost jumped out of his skin. Superman approached the plane and said, "Pink Ninja, you were able to make one of these creatures explode. How did you do it?" The ninja rose and turned to him. "Like I said before, their cellular makeup is unstable. Adding core energy to a certain place in their cells causes them to implode on themselves, but it is very touchy. I don't have enough core energy to be of any help to you. If I had my pact, it would be a different story, but this is all they left me with." Pink Ninja laughed when she talked about her absence of clothes. Flash remarked, "Nice tattoo, by the way." The Pink Ninja examined her body and found a tiny seal on her side. "Tattoo?" The Pink Ninja cried out, "Fifth Headmaster, you are a lifesaver." Flash tried to adjust his ears and questioned, "Why?" Pink Ninja placed her hand on the seal on her side and inhaled deeply. "Because this is a seal, not a tattoo. I had it placed there with a store of medical supplies in case something happened to my pact. Fifth Headmaster painted it on for me. Let's hope that what very little core energy I have regained during your conversation is enough," she said. A big brown tablet appeared in her hand, accompanied by a cloud of smoke. She cheered and pushed the pill into her mouth, saying, "Perfect." Flash said, "1. Where the hell did that come from? And 2. What does it do?" Sealed items are placed in almost a separate place in time, like suspended animation in frogs over the winter. The seal brings them back. What I took was a Sulliter pill. It helps her gain strength and core energy during long missions, the Pink Ninja said as she descended from the. Pink Ninja closed her eyes and grinned slyly, saying, "No need to catch up. I know what these things do. During my sleep, I would dream of my home and occasionally John's home as well. Let's kill these bastards." She decided that no one should ever have to lose a loved one, friend, or family like she had. "Then let's get started," John said, nodding. Pink Ninja's Sharingan was whirling frantically when she opened her eye and turned to face the city. Pink Ninja's Sharingan was whirling frantically when she opened her eye and turned to face the city. Wonder Woman looked around at the gathering and said, "Tell me again why this group is so big." The Pink Ninja said, "I am not 100%, and at the moment I only trust John if things went south. Batman is here because he doesn't trust John or I, and I'm not entirely sure why you tagged along." Wonder Woman stated plainly, "You are another sister that I felt I could trust." Pink Ninja laughed and went back to work. They were now huddled in an alley down the street from one of the factories the invaders had established, and the thick black smoke was still rising from the top of the pulsating globe. The hammer crashed into the earth, drilling for the earth's valuable minerals. The Pink Ninja said, "You shouldn't trust so easy, princess, if my gender is the only reason you trust me." Reluctant to open the eye that Ghosted Shaha had so generously given her, Pink Ninja took another look around. From what she understood, opening the eye required a lot of core energy, something she could not afford to spend just now. "What is the plan of attack here?" Batman asked, breaking his stillness at last. Wonder Woman struck the plant, causing a huge hole in his side, and Pink Ninja's statement was interrupted by a battle cry. "These creatures have a core energy presence much like my own, which means that I can track their movements to an extent. I could make sure that," stated the Pink Ninja. The Pink Ninja yelled, "I guess we move now," and rushed to join Wonder Woman. John landed next to Wonder Woman, while Batman was on the opposite side. He scowled but remained silent, and the princess didn't even realize he was angry. Pink Ninja were rendered dumbfounded by the factory's interior, which was bursting with hues and shapes that had no apparent connection to architecture. John gained the lead and advanced, with Pink Ninja trailing behind. They navigated the intricate labyrinth in front of them, with Wonder Woman and Batman protecting the rear. In a rather skeptical tone, Batman says, "Do you know where we are going?" John just nods and goes on, while Pink Ninja remains vigilant and looks for any additional core energy indicators. There were some ahead, and she considered them. There are a few of them up ahead. After telling her, "I know it makes sense, we will be reaching the core in a few moments," he slowed the group's pace. "The chamber is in there," John said, gesturing to the opening as several of the intruders left. The group slid against the wall to avoid being noticed. This gave them a clear view of the main room, which was more accepting and had the same strange colors and floors that turned into ceilings. In the center of the room was a large cabinet that contained what appeared to be a human heart. John remarked, that is what we came here for. It is the heart of their factory. Remove it, and it no longer can function. Pink Ninja questioned, is it made at all like them? Pink Ninja nodded as she glanced around the main chamber once again, and saw the group of invaders who appeared to be watching the heart at some kind of command center. There were also those scuttling around performing various tasks. In response, John said, I think so, but I can't be certain. As Pink Ninja explained her strategy, John gave a nod of approval. Then Wonder Woman appeared. Okay, if you guys can cover me, I can make my way to the heart and make it explode like the other ones from the lab. If that doesn't work, I can place it in the seal in my arm, and we can flee, said the Pink Ninja. Wonder Woman said, I don't approve of fleeing, but this is not the right time to fight, as Batman kept his gaze on Pink Ninja before nodding and lining up. John and Wonder Woman trailed behind Batman, while Pink Ninja stood behind them, ready with explosive tags. The Pink Ninja said, now, and they hurried into the room. The reaction was immediate. Wonder Woman shoved the intruders into the strange walls while they scrambled for the closest weapon, and John sprang for the invaders who were watching the heart. Pink Ninja put all of her inner might into her fist, and slammed it directly into the case, smashing whatever it was and making the factory shudder, rather than turning around to see what Batman was doing. Ignoring the discomfort, she attempted to insert her hands like the invaders into the heart crystal, but the crystal was very different, so she had to use Plan B. For safety, she applied the tattoo seal to the arm and held it out. Pink Ninja thought to John, I have the crystal, let's move John, as she walked to the chamber's door. She cried aloud when she reached the entryway and appeared to be encircled by lightning. John hurried to her aid and helped her through the door. As they navigated the corridors and oddly looping passageways, Wonder Woman swooped into the entryway and grabbed Batman's outstretched arm. We have what we came for, John shouted behind him. Wonder Woman questioned, what happened to her? As they flew through the factory, which trembled more the further they were from the chamber. The heart crystal is in her seal. It had some kind of effect after leaving the chamber. This is all I know. I cannot reach her telepathically. This worries me greatly. We must get out of here and somewhere safe, John said as he kept moving forward. Upon entering the factory, Pink Ninja jolted awake and started coughing and gasping for air, as they passed through the wide opening that Wonder Woman had earlier made. As flames and explosions took over, the Pink Ninja wheezed, where are we? And kept moving away from the plants. The gang continued through the city, surprised that the beasts had not pursued them. John looked in horror as Pink Ninja thrashed in his arms, and her eyes rolled back into her head, as she screamed again as they reached the edge of the city. As they moved to a safer location, Batman snorted. The city got out of the factory, barely, remarked he. John grabbed Pink Ninja's head and tried to enter her skull, saying, hold her down. I need to see what is going on. He heard him shouting from the other side, but initially all he could see were what appeared to be steel walls encircling her mind. John shouted, Pink Ninja. Let me help you. But was unable to phase past the barriers. He felt someone pressing him into the wall behind him, and a sharp instrument was pressed against his back. Behind him, Pink Ninja's voice screamed, I failed her once, and I won't fail her again. What are you doing in her head? Pink Ninja, I'm here to help you, John said calmly, not quite understanding. He felt himself spinning around when this Pink Ninja emerged. She had some kind of writing scrawled in black across her forehead, and although she looked exactly like Pink Ninja, her face was twisted as if she were attempting to growl at him and suppress her misery. This odd Pink Ninja held the sharp item near John's body, even though she was panting. How do I know you are here to help? How do I know you aren't some jinjutsu placed here by Ghost Uchiha? I will not fail her again, she said. What are you? John asked inquisitively, having never seen something like this in his life. She pressed the sharp thing firmly into John and added, I am Pink Ninja's inner mind. I was created to protect her mind, and that is what I will do. Across the wall, Pink Ninja's voice cried out in agony, Kai John. Help me. Please. Pink Ninja, can you hear me? John shouted back, momentarily losing all awareness of the other Pink Ninja. Her voice was filled with sobs as she exclaimed, John. Why can't I reach you? Please help me. Kaya. John snarled at the Pink Ninja that stood in his path, I need to help her, and the inner Pink Ninja gazed at him for a while, wide-eyed. She took the now identified knife from his side and dropped to her knees, as John nodded. You are John. You are the one that dealt with that bastard Ghost Uchiha, she said. A sphere covered in what appeared to be moving images that revealed all the damage the invaders had caused, including a side of Mars and numerous other worlds they had devastated in quest of resources, enraged John as he hurried onward as the steel walls vanished. KYHH. Pink Ninja cried out once more, and as John approached, he discovered her inside the sphere. The inner Pink Ninja said, I couldn't stop it, I can't get past the first set of images either, as he advanced and struck the odd outer wall. A picture appeared and began to play as soon as the invaders killed his wife and child. Inside the sphere, Pink Ninja yelled, Stop please. Stop. The other Pink Ninja beside him said, I tried that too, once again. The only thing it did for me was show me the moment Ghost Uchiha took over, the moment I failed Pink Ninja. John, a little irritated by the thing he had encountered, said, "Well then how are we going to get her out of there? Has anything changed on the outside? I have just recently come back from the dark and haven't witnessed much." This started when she placed an alien crystal in the seal of her arm. She said it was a separate dimension, John clarified. The inner pink ninja demanded more details, asking, "Is this crystal or whatever connected to the invaders? Like a special connection?" In an attempt to get something from this obnoxious pink ninja, John remarked, "Yes, it was the invader's heart crystal, and it ran the factory." "That's right, I was starting to come to when she grabbed this thing. It isn't made up of the same thing the invaders are." "Well, first things first, if this started when the crystal was placed in her seal then we remove it," replied the pink ninja within. John complained, "And how do you propose we do that? I have seen the energy you call core energy at work, but I wouldn't have the first idea of how to use it. To remove it from her seal would be impossible at this point, wouldn't it? Even if you did know how to use core energy it wouldn't help. Only Pink Ninja's core energy can open it. What we need to do is destroy the seal on her arm. It is not going to be fun, because it is a blood seal made by 5th Headmaster. There is only one thing that can be done. You have to burn the seal off. That will break the connection to the pocket dimension. Anything in there will be lost. If it was a scroll this would never have happened, but because it is a blood seal it is connected to her specifically," the inner Pink Ninja said. "She seemed to be running off these pills she took from the seal. What will happen to her if she is unable to get to them?" John inquired. She sighed. "I assume you mean the soldier pills she made. I can feel how weak she is now. She should have known better and not taken it in the first place. It is extremely dangerous to be taking the soldier pills. When your core energy stores are so low, she must likely be out of commission for a long time. I would say even weeks with how extreme her core energy exhaustion is, and the toll this crystal is placing on her body." John nodded and went to assist his friend. As he was leaving her head, he heard his inner Pink Ninja whispering to look after her. When he opened his eyes, he discovered that he was somewhere other from where they had been when he had entered Pink Ninja's mind. Reaching out, he discovered that everyone was huddled outside Batman's jet, Pink Ninja shivering next to him. He took her in his arms as he phased through the plane to the two heroes outside. Wonder Woman and Batman looked at John and stopped the conversation they were holding. As the Pink Ninja writhed in his arms, John pulled her closer and asked, "Where are we?" "We are outside the city. Superman and Hawkgirl went too. We haven't heard back from them. We are positive they were captured," Batman said. "How long was I in her mind?" "About 4 hours. We weren't sure what to do, but we couldn't stay there, so we loaded the both of you up. Do you know how to help her?" replied Batman. "I do," John responded, placing Pink Ninja on the floor in front of him. "Does anyone have a tool we can get very hot?" Batman said, drawing a metal rod and a small torch from his belt. Batman arched an eyebrow, but heated the rod to a slightly orange temperature, while John nodded. Then John grabbed the cool end of the rod and pulled Pink Ninja's arm open, revealing the seal. "Wonder Woman, Batman, I need you to hold her down," stated John with a grimace. Wonder Woman grabbed Pink Ninja's knees, while Batman shrugged and held her shoulders. John then lowered the metal across Pink Ninja's flesh, just above the seal. The Pink Ninja gasped, "Kaya," as her body hissed beneath the rod. As Pink Ninja completed breaking the seal, John heard the faint sound of glass cracking off his arm. When the Pink Ninja collapsed to the ground and started to breathe heavily, John gave her a worried glance. "Pink Ninja, can you hear me?" John asked, seeing a shift in her perspective. Her eyes widened and she turned to look at John's face. She exclaimed, "The Imperium is coming, he is almost here," before collapsing once more in John's embrace. Wonder Woman asked, "What is an Imperium?" And John moaned while clutching Pink Ninja. Batman nodded and made another attempt at communicating. "If the Imperium is coming, then we are all in danger," he said. Flash paused as he exited with Batman, followed a few seconds later by the Green Lantern. "Sorry, we are taking so long, Bats. Lantern doesn't move as fast as I do. We should be there in a few seconds." Batman tried Superman's calm and then Hawkgirl's again, but all he got was static. "So I am a few seconds slower than the fastest man on Earth. Big deal," he responded. Batman nodded to himself while formulating a strategy. "Superman and Hawkgirl's comms are down, leading to my earlier statement. They have been captured," he said. Flash inquired, as if concerned, "What happened there?" "Sleeping Beauty out again." As he approached John and Pink Ninja and saw the red, irate flesh on her arm, John groaned and gave her a sad expression as Lantern approached and gestured to her arm. "We had to burn away the only thing that connected her to her home, to save her life," he said. "I can get that wrapped up and covered at least." John felt her thoughts jump to the surface as Lantern went for a small pack that was concealed somewhere. She whispered to Lantern, "Not so tight, it needs to breathe to heal," while he finished. Lantern laughed, removing the bandage slightly. Pink Ninja hid her head into John once more, oblivious to the sneer on Lantern's face as he said, "All I have seen from you is a weak sleeping girl, and a weird flame from your eye. Who says you know what you are talking about?" She hadn't done much in her many hours up, but she couldn't let the Imperium get her. Pink Ninja mumbled, her eyes barely open. Years of medical training say, John, he is almost here. They have Superman and Hawkgirl too, but the Imperium is very excited to see you. He also is very interested in me. He wants us for his supper today. John shook her head, intending to communicate the invaders' strategy, but she passed out due to a veil covering her brain. I met the keeper of your mind, and she said that core energy exhaustion is very dangerous. Rest now, Pink Ninja. We can handle it from here. John nodded to the others after loading her onto the aircraft. Stubborn girl, Batman observed, a little taken aback that she had regained consciousness after experiencing so much in a single day. We must act quickly for the sake of your world. Pink Ninja sighed as she drifted into her imagination. A recognizable voice whispered, you should be resting, and Pink Ninja turned slowly and methodically. The Pink Ninja complained to the figure in front of her, but I am so bored. The figure grumbled and shook her head. Convinced by the figure, Pink Ninja slumped in defeat. She knew that the statistic was true, but it seemed strange to hear it from her. You have been in a tank for 2 years, you gained a new Justu that is still unpredictable, and takes a lot of core energy from your already depleted supply, and there is the fact that you knowingly took soldier pills in a state that may have killed you, said the statistic. I know, but I am too restless to dream, and John seems to be keeping me from completely regaining consciousness. They are going against a pretty strong creature, and there is nothing I can do stuck in my head. The Pink Ninja was gasping. Their mental landscape changed, and they both furrowed their brows. Something horrible was happening in the real world. Then, with a blinding light and agony overwhelming them both, Pink Ninja struggled to keep her eyes open, as her inner self fought fiercely. Everything darkened before the pain grew more intense, like worms attempting to crawl inside her skull. She became conscious when she felt a surge of mental energy that she recognized as John. The room was so large that she could hardly see what was going on, and everything was in a movie. She heard only screams, and saw that the group of people she had become familiar with in this odd place were confined on a platform next to her. It took her a few more moments of awareness to realize that she was screaming and inside a jellyfish of some kind. The pain she had experienced was actually this creature's tentacles digging into her flesh. She looked around frantically once more, and saw that John was standing in front of this beast, perhaps preparing to mount. It was a guttural voice that shook her. This sweet, sweet energy, child, your mind is so filling. I have not indulged on such energyful mind in centuries, it said. Smothering the sobbing in her throat, Pink Ninja bit her lip. Pink Ninja moaned in her mind, you must be the Imperium. I can feel the evil welled up inside you. I have not lived through war and heartache to be eaten by the likes of you, not expecting her vocal cords to do anything other than scream. Pink Ninja felt blood seeping from her lip as she suppressed more screams. Defiance, I like it. It has defiantly helped mold that energy in you. Yes, continue to fight. It will make destroying you that much more delightful, the Imperium said, shaking Pink Ninja and laughing with its laughter. I know this lingering essence, by chance is this ghost Ichiha. The Imperium continued to commemorate the occurrence, that fool. He thought other dimensions held what we needed, but I went to the cosmos. What now, foolish brother? Just an essence of you left behind, what a joke. Ghost Ichiha was a parasite like you. She cried as the Pink Ninja struggled with bone exhaustion. The Imperium casually remarked, a brother actually, a fool, and you killed him, good for you, and now I will take revenge I suppose by killing you, as it prodded Pink Ninja's thinking further. Pink Ninja, fight him. John yelled as he watched in horror as the young girl was faced with a fate he had seen so many of his people go through. Knowing that she would either have to fight for her life or perish, Pink Ninja braced herself. She reached into her awareness and looked for her inner counterpart. She discovered her in much the same position, albeit she was grayer than the jet black she had been before, with vines creeping into her body and up her legs. The Pink Ninja saw that the mindscape was no longer in control of her body when they hurried to her. When Pink Ninja arrived at her counterpart, she cried out, what is happening? She told Pink Ninja, the creature is feeding off my energy. I can feel myself fading, as Pink Ninja tugged at the vines in an attempt to release her companion. I will not let this happen, you will not die. I will not let another one of my friends die. Pink Ninja cried with a great deal of resolve as she pulled and struggled with the vines some more, but to no avail, before remembering the parasite that destroyed her world, the black fire, Ghost Ichiha had so kindly given her. Pink Ninja ignored the loud growl that flooded her head as the vines hissed and withered under the relentless fire. As the last of the charred tendrils were swallowed up by the flames, her duplicate collapsed against the earth. The black flames exploded because they had nothing left to consume. I will not let you die. Pink Ninja exclaimed, opening her eyes, determined to maintain her fire will despite her anger. When the inner Pink Ninja said, I thought those flames didn't stop until all was burned before it. Pink Ninja nodded to her inner self while grinning at her already gloomy tone. I decided that it wouldn't and it didn't. It is my jutsu, and I will learn to control it. No, I suppose it is time to deal with the other one, she said. It would take more than some creature to destroy the strength inside. Pink Ninja grinned as she opened her eyes and saw the smoke rising from the thing that was restraining her. The creature shook Pink Ninja violently and shouted, what have you done? Pink Ninja's eyes were fixed on what appeared to be the creature's brain, and she allowed the black flames to devour it, while she burned with rage and fury. I decided to fight. And you bit off more than you could chew. She said this time, confident that the agony would not deter her. The chamber was filled with gurgled yells. As the invaders all screamed and ran for their commander, it pulled its tentacles away from Pink Ninja's skin and lowered her to the ground. Pink Ninja recoiled but continued to stare at the object before launching another stream of fire at it. The Pink Ninja gasped, "Die and take all your goons with you," and John was there to drag her away from the creature's melted, shrieking shambles. "No, master." Hawkgirl had built a sunroof, which the invaders did not like. Pink Ninja heard a noise, and as they screamed and started to melt into puddles that resembled their master, the room was filled with the glorious light of the day. With the factory beginning to collapse all around them, Pink Ninja was still and left with nothing. As John flew out of the fading structure with her in his arms, the rest of the group soon followed, eager to get away from this place of death. The Pink Ninja couldn't speak loudly, so John whispered, "So how did we end up in that mess?" "We were preparing to rescue Superman and Hawkgirl, but we were lured into a trap. I am not sure how you came to be there. We had left you with a friend of Superman that Batman knew. Once we all came to, an invader that Superman identified as a government official had you in his arms. He offered you to the Imperium, and the rest you were aware of," John clarified. The Pink Ninja inquired, "I wonder if Superman's friend is okay." "You left her with Lois," yelled the mob that had assembled afar from the swelling wreck factory. "Yes, we are in Metropolis, and she wasn't going to be of any help. I figured Lois would have it handled. I also didn't know that these things had any interest in her. I was surprised to see her there too." "Superman, I am sure Lois is fine," Batman remarked as he attempted to calm down Superman. "How can you know Senator Carter was an invader? How can I trust anyone now?" Superman sighed in frustration as Pink Ninja attempted to grab him. John then advanced on the group. Superman groaned once more as Pink Ninja remarked, "Believing in people can get you killed, but that is also a very lonely place to be." People in the gathering became silent as he vanished. "I am going to find Lois. After that we have a world to put back together," he said. Batman and the others nodded and started dividing into teams, like they had done before, to clean up the wreckage these invading aliens had created. The Green Lantern took charge and declared, "I will take Mr. Speed Freak here's start in South America." Even though it would take a long time for Pink Ninja to heal and regain her strength, she hoped that this incredible group of people would still be present. She groaned when she realized she was at her breaking point and could no longer assist them. Pink Ninja wept quietly in John's arms as a warm tear fell on his breast. The excitement was wearing off as reality set in, and the little girl was frail and far from home. John made an effort to allay the growing anxieties of the little girl by saying, "Do not worry, I will watch over you as you gain your strength. You forget I have seen you before this. I know what you are capable of, and you will become that person again." "Thank you, John," Pink Ninja said. "I think I am going to sleep now. Do not worry if I am asleep for a few days. I have reached dangerous levels of core energy, and it will take me time to regain them," before sinking against John's chest again. Nothing would wake her this time, she knew. As her energy returned, Pink Ninja briefly slipped into and out of conciseness. It had only felt like a strange dream to get out of the tank and battle the life-sucking extraterrestrial invaders. However, there was a steady presence that soothed her every time she woke up. Pink Ninja's wise mind would reach out and put her to sleep each time she felt John reaching out to her inner self. She thought to herself, "He must be asking if I am healed enough," and then she went down again to see her serene recollections. She groaned as he replaced her on the balcony of the Konoha town hall, thinking only of the stunning mansion she would never again see. John entered her memory and approached from behind. John said, "It is quite a beautiful sight here," while a family of kids played in the street below. "This is what I fought for, I suppose. I was a child during a short time of peace. I always wanted the younger kids to not grow up as fast as I had to. I actually gave my life for it," Pink Ninja laughed. John said, "Peace, I also remember that time," and then he turned to look at the Pink Ninja. "Those who have had peace ripped from their hand would never want others to experience the same, I suppose. Time to leave this peace though, isn't it?" said Pink Ninja, grinning as she glanced up at him. "You have been asleep for 2 months, and some people don't think you'll wake up," John stated with a smile. "Well, I would have been awake sooner if someone didn't continue to put me to sleep. It was the entity in your mind that advised to let you continue resting. I came here many times and left at a request just as many," John clarified. When Pink Ninja questioned, "So why now?" For a moment, the inner Pink Ninja stopped to wave at her body. Her core energy levels were stabilized and had slightly decreased due to inactivity, but not enough to make using it risky, therefore the inner Pink Ninja was correct. "I said you can, that is why," a voice shouted from the building's door. Pink Ninja asked John, "Where have we been in these 2 months?" "We have been staying in Gotham at the gracious host of Batman. After you didn't wake up for 3 days, the group seemed worried. No matter how often I reminded them you were fine, they didn't believe it. Batman wanted to ensure you were okay and set up a hospital bed for you. There have been a few doctors in to see you, but no one can make heads or tail why you won't wake up," John laughed. Pink Ninja, attempting to prepare for the real world, inquired again, so I am in Batman's home then? Actually no, we are currently on our way to a satellite. It was something Batman had created in a marvelously short amount of time. Once we land and have you moved to the infirmary, I will let you wake up, John said with a wink. Pink Ninja said, why can't I just wake up now? With a hint of dissatisfaction. You should be still when you awaken. It will be a shock to your system as it is, or at least it is what your entity has said. Your anatomy is quite interesting. It is very similar to the humans here on Earth, but all of you nerves and organs have this almost netting-like substance around them. Batman had your body scanned while you were unconscious. After finding that out, he really didn't like having normal doctors look at you. Green Lantern dropped by a few times to check up on you. He was a doctor in the army, so that was really the best Batman could do. I reminded them many times you were fine. We are approaching the watchtower as Batman calls it. I will leave you, and once we are all ready, I will allow you to rise to consciousness. Disappeared. Putting some core energy into her body, Pink Ninja tried to break this like a genjutsu over her mind, and it was beginning to work. Hey, you know what? You can't keep me here, she said. She opened her eyes long enough to view the windows and the night sky, then heard John sigh, and turned to look into his eyes. John thought to her, so stubborn, and gently lulled her back to sleep. This time she was awakened by a voice and went into a dreamless sleep, rather than dreaming about Konoha. The woman muttered, so she should be waking soon then. More sternly, that is what John said. We shall see what happens, he continued. The woman sighed as she added, you have invested a lot of time in this young woman. She must have persevered to help us as she did, 2 whole months to recover, and then there was the sound of footsteps approaching. Pink Ninja was struggling to stay awake, but she was almost there. A slight touch on her face pushed her over the edge, perhaps even further. Pink Ninja sat up in bed, looked around frantically, and gasped and panted. The hand that caressed her face belonged to a tall, straight-haired woman, and her face showed a look of surprise. Then she tried to calm her by taking her shoulders. In a matter of seconds, John was by Pink Ninja's side, surprising everyone in the room as she struggled to talk after something stuck in her throat and made breathing difficult. Calm down, you were intubated for the trip here. We can remove it now. You just need to calm down, John said, causing Pink Ninja to tremble, but she eventually relaxed. Before she could get the tube in her mouth, she was stopped. Let a professional do that please, Batman said with a sigh while holding her hands down. Pink Ninja moaned in pain as Green Lantern walked into the clinic, grinning. Sleeping Beauty awakens. I suppose you want that out now, he remarked softly, noting Pink Ninja's slight nod. Alright, this isn't going to be fun, Batman. John held her hands just so she doesn't swatch at me, he said. Lantern unplugged the machine from the tube at Pink Ninja's lips. With the pressure that Pink Ninja had not previously detected stopped, it became slightly easier to remove this tube. Lantern gently walked to the tube and started pushing until the tube scraped against Pink Ninja's sensitive throat, marking the start of the worst treatment she had ever had. Pink Ninja vomited all the time as the tube left her throat. As the remainder of the tube exited her mouth, she coughed. A glass of water was handed to her, and she took a gentle drink in between coughing fits. Lantern kept telling Pink Ninja to calm down and quit coughing. Slowly, breathe in and out, she said. The Pink Ninja whispered, I want you to know that was completely unnecessary. Which inevitably caused additional coughing. As the other passengers realized what was going on, they slowly crowded in. Pink Ninja recognized Wonder Woman as she brought her to the surface and caressed her. She moved to the side, utterly unaware of the equipment that had encircled Pink Ninja. Batman complained, the trip to the watchtower would have not been good for you if we had not done this. You are welcome, as the room began to get a little packed, and left. When Pink Ninja looked up, she saw that almost everyone was present, and that John was sitting quietly on a chair to her far right. Wonder Woman then moved forward once more and took Pink Ninja's hand. It is good to see you awake, sister. I was worried for you health. Pink Ninja nodded, not wanting to risk another coughing fit, but prepared to say something. Lantern busied himself examining Pink Ninja, who had an IV in her right arm, and several discs stuck to her chest. To make place for others, Wonder Woman moved aside. Superman laughed and lightly rubbed Pink Ninja's shoulder. It is good to see you awake, gave us a little scare there, he continued. You know we need to stop meeting like this, he brought back. Pink Ninja saw activity at the entrance and grinned. They looked at each other, and Hawkgirl, who had been interested in the commotion, nodded and vanished again. That eyes still give me the creeps, Iridit remarked as he passed, and Pink Ninja, still hesitant to speak, swiped at him. The Flash gave a little start when John started talking. Can you translate? Pink Ninja asked, staring at him. He nodded, waiting for her to begin. What is the situation? Pink Ninja asked herself as she turned to face the throng. It took a little longer than I had thought to regain the strength I overextended during our battle. She feels this is the easiest way to speak at the moment, John said after talking with Pink Ninja. You know this is even more creepy, right? Can you get into my head? You know what, don't answer that, I would rather not know, complained Flash, leaning away from the bed and against the wall. He was curious, but he needed some privacy. Pink Ninja shrugged and said, I will use what is available, and John took over. She straightened herself a little before starting to ask, what has been done about the damages caused? Were there any casualties from the event? Have the families been compensated? Well, the gathering gaped in shock at her straightforward approach to the situation. The damages caused are being handled, but the city governments, I suppose, I am not sure if there were any casualties, Superman said, pausing to rub the back of his head. When the room tilted, Pink Ninja halted her activity and straightened herself out. Violet Ninja complained to herself, as the ones involved, we should be on top of this. John hesitated for a second before realizing it wasn't necessary for the gang. Pink Ninja sighed and reached for the glass of water. Pink Ninja nodded and inhaled deeply as John lifted her up and asked, are you alright? Pink Ninja groaned and sat up straight again when John raised the bed to make place for her. John was left behind as Green Lantern pushed the party out the door and said, okay, everyone out, too much all at once, she just woke up. You're too kind to me, Mr. John Jonas. Pink Ninja grinned at him and said, don't you have anything to do? I'll be fine here. John nodded and took a seat again in the chair to the right of the bed. As he closed his eyes and hummed, Pink Ninja realized that John was already in her thoughts. She was so accustomed to him that she didn't even notice him. I do have a few things to do, but at the moment they are not important. I can remain here. It is peaceful near you and your village in the leaves, he said. Pink Ninja relaxed, sighed, and tapped her temple with her finger. She answered, you're lucky I don't mind you in here. The two of them sat silently for a while, just unwinding and meditating. An hour or so later, Pink Ninja opened her eyes softly as footsteps came toward the two of them. There, Green Lantern was examining a few of the nearby instruments. Green Lantern gave Pink Ninja another glass of water after she said, I am fine, to test her voice. Green Lantern sat down and remarked, sure, you had said you were a field medic, right? Pink Ninja nodded. Damn, you are pretty young to have been through that. I wouldn't wish war on anyone, especially someone so young, he replied with a sigh. It is how life is from where I'm from. As a child I was given a choice. I could work as a civilian or train as an anime soldier like my family before me. Pink Ninja whispered, feeling more confident in her voice. My parents didn't want me to choose the anime soldier life. I wanted to try. Since my family were all anime soldier, I could have always left before graduation when I became a genin. I just wanted to make my parents happy. We were in a time of peace. Training was easy and anime soldier didn't go on deadly missions like they had in the past. It was the perfect time for a while. I wasn't the best at combat, but my chakra control was through the roof. I was praised by my instructors and learned many things. I admit, I didn't take training seriously. I was on going through training to reach my next rank when stuff really goes serious. I faced some of the most energyful beings my world knew of. That was when the peace of my childhood was shattered. I had to take my training seriously or step down. I found my master at that time. She was an amazing healer and legend in our village, one of the legendary Sanin. I learned a great deal from her. I also found myself, found what I was meant to do. Pink Ninja looked at Green Lantern and smiled. I was meant to help people. After removing the disc from her chest, Green Lantern turned off a machine behind her that was producing a noise and said, well, you look to be recovering nicely. I don't think you need these anymore. After observing her for a minute and processing the new knowledge, he got up and left the room. I'll let you rest a bit more. When you're up to it, I would like to see what this legend taught you, he continued. Even though she was only a child, her eyes looked much older. Pink Ninja sighed and looked about, feeling as though she had slept well. When she looked at John, he was sitting comfortably in the chair with his eye closed, but she had the impression that he would stop her if she got out of bed. She reclined once more and paused to reflect. So what am I supposed to do in this new world? I can't really do anything until I am back on my feet anyway. John shifted in his chair and turned to face Pink Ninja, who moaned. He didn't speak or think anything to her, but she could feel the same bewilderment coming from him. We will have to see what this world has in store together, John finally said, and Pink Ninja nodded and shifted in bed a little. She next straightened her posture and stretched her toes, which was a terrific way to loosen up all the stiff joints and activate muscles that hadn't been utilized in 2 months. Pink Ninja clumsily said, John, can you help me? I need to stretch my legs. I am just not too sure how I am going to be on them, because she wanted to explore and hated having to ask for help in this manner. I think the Green Lantern left just the thing for us. John agreed, grabbing a wheelchair and walking to the other side of the room. Pink Ninja complained that even though she didn't want to walk, it was better than nothing as long as she was out of bed. She threw the blankets off her legs and stopped, realizing that she might not be walking for a while, because she had lost so much muscle mass that she had almost forgotten about it. She didn't realize she was crying until John's hand touched her face. Pink Ninja tried to gather herself and smiled while nodding. She lowered her small frame to the edge of the bed and took a deep breath. John said in such a calming voice, I know you are energetic, athletic, acrobatic and more than this. You were seriously hurt and kept in a coma for 2 years, and then asleep for another 2 months. Your muscles will return. You will come back from this. I know because I know. But before she could slide off the bed, John lifted her up. She muttered, "Hey, I could do that," unsure of her ability to succeed. John shrugged and smiled as he pushed her onto the wheelchair and wrapped a little sheet from the hospital blankets in the cupboard over her legs. Pink Ninja nearly forgot she still had an IV when John set the medication on a pole at the back of the wheelchair. Pink Ninja praised him for being ready before they left. Pink Ninja gasped when she saw the view beyond the hospital door. A long hall with numerous windows to admire the beauty. While a far lower percentage of Pink Ninja were terrified, a considerably greater percentage were simply in awe of the scene. How? We are in space. That is the Earth. This is impossible, she said in tears. Lantern shouted from down the hall, "So Sleeping Beauty is on the move," and he immediately came over. Pink Ninja said, "Yeah, I was going a little stir-crazy in there," and she was grinning up at him. Pink Ninja's smile dimmed as she realized how awful she looked at the moment. Pink Ninja nodded, already aware from her distorted legs that is fine, but you can't be trying to stand just yet, not on your own anyway. Your muscles are trying to come back from a long time without use. It will take a bit of work to get them up to snuff. Lantern nodded and stepped aside, saying, "You will be back on your feet in no time. Would you like a tour of the place?"